Madam Mayor, we are live and recording. You can begin whenever you wish.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome everybody to our regular council meeting. Today is June 2nd. Before we begin, just to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Township's YouTube channel. Council, as is always the case, please raise your hand if you wish to speak on a matter, and please ensure that your microphone is on when you're called upon to speak. We do have participants joining from both within the chambers as well as online, including myself. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there in person today, so I do ask for a little bit of support and patience as we try and chair the meeting from remote. And again, I remind you to use your microphone so everybody online can hear. So to get started, I'll call the roll. We've got Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councillor Watt, Councillor Johnston, Councillor Landsman, hello, and of course myself, Heather Watson. There are a number of people who are joining us at different points throughout the meeting, staff as well as guests, and they will be introduced at the appropriate time. So with quorum of council in attendance, I will call the meeting to order, and it's 5:03 p.m. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the lands which are part of the 1818 Treaty 20 and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe bands of the Great Ojibwe Nation. We offer our gratitude to the Ojibwe for their care and knowledge of the lands on which we work, live, and enjoy. May we honor and respect their teaching and our treaty obligations as we grow together. We will now also pause for a moment of silent reflection. And I also just want to acknowledge perhaps a moment of silence for former Douro Council member Bernard Condon. He was elected as council in December of 1991. As a councillor, was deputy reeve in 94 through until 1997. So we'll just pause for a moment of silent reflection, please. Okay. Council, the agenda was distributed in advance. I've not seen anyone reach out with a disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest for any member of council? Seeing nothing, we will just look for an adoption of the agenda.
Moved.
Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 6.1, just the adoption of the minutes and business arising from the minutes. So we have our regular council meeting minutes from May 19th. Just looking for a resolution to receive and approve those, please. Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Johnston. All in favor? And that motion carries. Keep in mind sometimes, well, I know when your mic's are on, I can't hear you, and I know sometimes you kind of say instead of put your hands up. So be sure to put your hands up so I can see you, please. We have a number of items on consent, 4 to be exact. Council, are there any of those items that you would like to hold to discuss later in the agenda? Councillor Watt?
7.3, please.
7.3. Okay, so we'll move that to, I believe it goes down to section 12. So it will now become 12.6. I'm just making note of that on my copy. Are there any other items that council would like to hold for discussion? Seeing nothing further, just a motion to receive the balance of the consent agenda, please. Councillor Landsman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Okay, we have a number of public meetings on the agenda, 3 to be exact. So we will work through these one at a time. We're going to start with item 8.1, which is a public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment application file R-0725, planning 2026-15 for Irwin Road. Council, just looking for a motion to open the public meeting, please. Counselor Johnston, seconded by Counselor Watt. All in favor? And that carries. And I will now turn it over to, who do I have on this one? Was it Amanda Timmermans who's speaking on this one first, Madam Clerk? Or,
I believe so. Madam
okay,
Mayor.
there we are.
Okay, can everyone hear me
Welcome.
okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yes, okay, excellent. So hi, nice to meet you everyone. It's Amanda Timmermans. I am a senior land use planner with DM Wills. DM Wills was retained by the township for 2 applications on today's agenda. So we have prepared we have reviewed the applications on behalf of the township, prepared the notices of complete application and public meeting, as well as the municipal staff report that's on the agenda. So to provide an introduction of the first application. So this one is zoning bylaw R07-25. So on behalf of the owners, Holly Richards Connolly of Black Point Construction Services has applied to amend the existing zoning on the property located at 1386 Irwin Road, located in Part Lot 32, Concession 9 in the Dummer Ward of the township. The subject property is currently zoned with a special district, number 219, as shown on within the staff report. The subject property is an existing waterfront lot of record with approximately 2,661 square meters in area, with a lot frontage of approximately 26 meters along Irwin Road and a shoreline frontage of 26.7 meters along Stony Lake. The existing development on the subject property consists of a permanent single detached 2-story dwelling and a 2-story boathouse with an attached, I'm calling it an elevated deck above a covered dock/wharf in my report. The dwelling is considered non-complying due to the deficient water yard setbacks and existing side yard setbacks. There are also 2 small shelters located at the rear of the property for recreational purposes that each measure approximately 10 square meters. The existing development is currently serviced with a private individual well and a septic system. I believe that's actually a holding tank, just to clarify that in the report, and is currently bisected by a private right-of-way that pre-existed the development of Irwin Road. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing non-complying 2-story dwelling, measuring 154.5 square meters in area and 11.64 meters in height, and replace it with an expanded dwelling with attached covered porches, as shown in the site plan that was included in the agenda, as well as the building plans. The new dwelling will be located generally on the same footprint as the existing dwelling, with a proposed ground floor area of 274.29 square meters, with a gross floor area with the 2 stories, 406.45 square meters, and a height of 10.48 meters. So it's actually lower than the existing dwelling. In addition, the applicant proposes to construct a new detached garage to the rear of the property with a covered parking. This structure has a ground floor area of 36.78 square meters and a height of 4.4 meters to the midpoint of the roof. The proposed new dwelling will be serviced by the existing well and a new private septic system in a new location farther back from the lake, actually even further back than the proposed garage. The existing boathouse and shelters are proposed to remain as is, existing, and are not currently subject to this zoning bylaw amendment application. So the purpose of the application is amending these special district 219 zone with site-specific regulations to permit the redevelopment of the property. The site-specific regulations as proposed by the applicant are listed further down in my report, but those would make up the regulations contained in the township bylaw. So given the substantial redevelopment of the subject lands, which are located obviously within 120 meters of the lake, the development is site plan to site plan control under your site plan control bylaw. Accordingly, the owner will be required to enter into a site plan agreement with the township through the township's delegated approval process in order to ensure that the development proceeds through or in accordance with the zoning regulations and the approved plans. So the notices of complete application and public meeting were given in accordance with the Planning Act and posted on the subject property, and a copy of the notice of public meeting was attached to the agenda. A site visit was conducted by township planning consultant, myself, our junior planner, as well as the township planner on May 21st, confirming that the site conditions and potential impacts on neighboring properties. So to go through the planning analysis and review, as most of you probably know, the provincial planning statement is considered under the Planning Act. All municipal decisions are required to be consistent with the PPS, and this particular property would be considered rural lands in accordance with the PPS. Residential development is, of course, permitted on rural lands where the site conditions are suitable for the provision of sewage and water services. So the development that can be sustained by rural service levels shall be promoted as long as there's planned infrastructure there. So the proposed development, therefore, is permitted under the PPS based on the surrounding development and servicing patterns. It's anticipated that the proposed private individual well and septic systems will provide adequate sewage and water services. And given the proposed development replaces the existing dwelling and development on the site, it's not expected to result in any strain on municipal infrastructure and services. So a pre-consultation meeting was held last spring, April 24th, 2025. The pre-consultation identified a number of natural heritage features that needed to be addressed through an environmental impact study. The proposed development was located outside of all natural heritage features, but the policies of the PPS do prohibit development on adjacent lands unless an ecological function of the adjacent lands has been evaluated through a natural heritage report or an environmental impact study. So an environmental impact study was prepared by Sumac Environmental Consulting and submitted as part of the zoning application to demonstrate consistency with the policies, and provided that the applicant follow the recommended mitigation measures, there was no significant impacts identified. The EIS was peer-reviewed by DM Wills on behalf of the township. A letter with 11 comments was provided to the applicant last week. While the peer reviewer generally agreed with the author of the environmental impact study that impacts were unlikely, a number of revisions to the study were requested. Those were actually submitted to the township this morning, and I did have our natural sciences department do a preliminary review, and there was no outstanding comments or concerns with the EIS. Excuse me. Okay, a portion of the property was confirmed to be located in the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority regulated area due to the presence of a floodplain. However, they have confirmed that the development is outside the known flooding hazard, and although permits will be required from ORCA, they had no outstanding issues or concerns. The PPS also speaks to cultural heritage and archaeology, and prohibits planning authorities from permitting development and site alteration on lands having archaeological potential or containing archaeological resources unless significant archaeological resources have been confirmed. So given the archaeological potential of the site, because it's located so close to the lake, a stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was required for the complete application and subsequently submitted by Earthworks Archaeological Services with the application. The report found that approximately 60% of the area, approximately 60% of the study area was assessed through a test pit survey. So it was found to have potential and a stage 2 was required. So the stage 2 of this assessment did a test pit survey, and then 40% of the study area was determined to have been subject to deep subsurface alteration, so disturbance, that would remove any archaeological potential. So those are things like the location of the existing dwelling, the asphalt road, the boathouse, and the driveways. Based on the stage 2 test pit survey, and there was no, the property was found free of archaeological material, just to use the same terminology, and no additional archaeological assessment was required. We did receive comments from Curve Lake First Nation, Alderville First Nation, and Hiawatha First Nation, and none of them had further concerns with the submitted archaeological assessment. So therefore, we found that the application is consistent with the PPS. So moving on to the official plan, the subject property is designated shoreline residential and environmental constraint area for that flooding hazard that's located along the Stony Lake shoreline. Of course, the Lakeshore residential designation permits single detached dwellings and recreational dwellings. The environmental constraint area, I explained that already. The existing and proposed use are both permitted, obviously, in the official plan. However, policies of the Lakeshore designation do require a 30-meter setback from the high water mark for all new development. So considering this is considered a legally existing building that doesn't meet this setback, it may be replaced on the same footprint if the replacement is deemed necessary due to a structural defect or otherwise permitted by the municipal zoning bylaw. So a structural condition assessment was prepared by Cambium Inc. to support this application, and the qualified professional engineer did recommend demolition of the entire deteriorated structure. The official plan further states that legally existing buildings may be replaced and enlarged, provided that no further encroachment towards the water body results. The existing deficient water yard setbacks are actually being proposed to be improved, so no further encroachment will result. Given the substantial redevelopment of the property and the floodplain hazards that are present, a lot grading and drainage plan inclusive of a stormwater management brief was required to demonstrate that the stormwater management needs can be met on site without impacting the adjacent properties. A stormwater management brief with a landscape site plan were prepared by Janet Rosenberg in studio, who is a landscape architect, and submitted with the application. When DM Wills completed the technical peer review of that stormwater management brief, they identified a number of different concerns. Firstly, the submitted site landscape site plan was only, it's the only drawing that includes the site grading information. However, it's not prepared by a qualified professional engineer and does not contain sufficient detail to demonstrate that the drainage can be safely conveyed to an adequate outlet without impacting the neighboring properties. So that's the key to meeting the official plan and provincial planning statement policies. The peer review did require a detailed grading plan to be prepared in support of the zoning bylaw application and stamped by a qualified professional engineer. The peer review also reviewed the need for a revised stormwater management brief. The original pre-consultation did request this. However, in reviewing the proximity of the property, the proposed development to the lake and the proposed expansion, DM Wills qualified engineers determined that the development doesn't really pose a risk to increased flooding potential or negative water quality impacts to the lake or the natural environment. So they have recommended to the township that the requirement for a stormwater management brief be waived, provided that the engineering grading plan demonstrates safe conveyance of those stormwaters. So given a lot of these technical comments and concerns posed in the engineering review are very technical, we did advise that the proposed development be subject to site plan control in accordance with the bylaw in order to address those outstanding technical comments and ensure that development is constructed in accordance with the proper engineered plans. It would be more than it would be more appropriate to satisfy these comments, in my opinion, through a site plan agreement rather than including a bunch of additional site-specific regulations or applying something like a holding provision to the zoning. This will just allow the development review process to proceed. We can continue with the zoning and still work out the detailed design aspects that are really unrelated to the use of the property with the appropriate qualified people and the applicant. So provided the development proposal be subject to that site plan control and agreement with the township, to address the peer review comments, the application would, in my opinion, meet the intent of the official plan policies. In terms of the zoning bylaw, so there is already a special district 219 on the property, which permits all the uses permitted in the limited service residential zone. So the special district 219 zone actually speaks to exceptions for the two-story boathouse and recognizes the existing lot area and frontage of the subject property. So it doesn't speak to anything related to the existing dwelling. So the Lakeshore limited service residential, Lakeshore is the designation, does permit single detached permanent and recreational dwellings subject to compliance with a number of different provisions. All new development obviously has to have a water yard setback of 30 meters. So therefore this new replacement will not meet that required setback. I'm skipping ahead here a little bit. And so the zoning bylaw application is required to recognize those proposed setbacks. The planning justification report that was prepared by Kevin Duguay outlined the site-specific provisions that they've requested. The existing regulations in the site-specific zone related to the boathouse would be proposed to remain, and any future renovation or replacement of that boathouse will be dealt with through a subsequent planning approval if those are required. So all other applicable zones and provisions of the bylaw will continue to apply to this property. Okay, comments received. So comments were received from the following agencies who had no comments or concerns with the application. So Bell Canada, Hydro One, Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board, Peterborough County Engineering and Construction Division, Douro-Dummer Building, Fire and Public Works Departments. I indicated previously that comments were received from Alderville, Hiawatha, and Curve Lake First Nations, indicating the property's high archaeological potential and need for the archaeological assessment. The stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment was completed and submitted and has now been registered with the ministry. The study was circulated to the commenting agencies, including First Nations, on April 17th. And the Alderville and Curve Lake comments both indicated that further consultation may be required. And then Hiawatha confirmed that no additional questions or concerns, that they had no additional questions or concerns. Comments provided by Orca indicated the proposed development was located outside the known flooding hazard with Stony Lake, confirmed that the application is consistent with Chapter 5 of the PPS on natural hazards, and that the proposed development will not create any new or aggravate any existing hazards. An Orca permit will be required prior to any site alteration or construction within the regulated areas. I think I already provided enough detail on the peer reviews, but they were included in the agenda package as part of the technical comment consolidation letter. I mentioned already that an updated EIS report and comment response matrix was submitted this morning by the agent, and we did have our natural sciences team do a preliminary review, and it does appear that all comments were addressed and that there are no outstanding comments. An updated grading plan was also submitted this morning by the agent based on a preliminary review by our stormwater management engineers. The updated plan does not does not sufficiently address the drainage concerns on the property, and further details would be required during the site plan and detailed design stage. We received 5 comments from the public in support of the application, and I can read those now into the record, but they'll be provided, they have already been provided to the clerk's office for inclusion in the minutes. So comment was received by from Linda Drysdale and Ian Dornellos. I'm gonna just go with that. Linda and I wanted to send you a message in support of the Goldstein project on the old Irwin Inn restaurant lot at 1386 Irwin Road. We strongly support this project. The current lot is in desperate need of development. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have further questions. Comments were received from Dennis and Patricia Irwin. We are happy to support the zoning application for my next door neighbor. They are very environmentally conscious of the lake and also their privacy for themselves and their neighbors. Redevelopment of the property at 1386 Irwin Road will be done properly. Comments submitted by Al Tyler. I would like to express my support for the proposed development at 1386 Irwin Road. The current Irwin Inn structure has been an eyesore for years, and I have been fortunate to see renderings of the proposed development and firmly believe that it will be great for the lake community. Let's do it. It's always nice to get positive comments to development, isn't it? The second last ones, Morelli Shamish and Mark Bissell. In anticipation of the community meeting held tonight, we're writing to express our support for the proposed construction project. The current structure has long been an eyesore on the lake, and many of us are eager to see it thoughtfully redeveloped. The proposed design by the current owners, featuring a wood and glass structure complemented by attractive landscaping, promises to significantly enhance the visual appeal of the area while blending harmoniously with its surroundings. We believe this project represents a positive improvement for the lake community and will contribute to the overall character and value of the properties on the lake. Lastly, comment from Judy Schulich and Dave Stein. We are writing in support of the development at 1386 Irwin Road. The current structure is an eyesore and we are excited for it to be redeveloped. Thank you kindly for noting our support. That is the conclusion of the public comments. So given our review of the technical comments, the agency comments, and the public comments, we did find, in conclusion, the applicant is seeking relief from several different regulations. It is our opinion that the subject property is significantly constrained by natural features and existing development. The proposed development plan does consider improving the existing conditions on the site and protecting the environment, and therefore I believe it is representative of good planning. Subject to the site plan control process and the satisfaction of the technical review comments, I believe that the application meets the intent of the applicable municipal and provincial policies, and at the direction of council, a draft amending bylaw outlining the required site-specific provisions will be prepared for council's consideration at a future council meeting, if council so wishes. So the recommendations in the report are that the report be received, that comments be received, and that council direct staff to prepare that amending bylaw. That is all.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we are now going to hand it over to the public, to the agents or owners. Have any comments or questions first? I believe that we had somebody on the line.
Madam Mayor, Holly Richards Conley, the agent for the file, wishes to approach the podium.
Okay, great. Please do. Welcome.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Holly Richards Conley, and I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicants with respect to the property located at 1386 Irwin Road, historically known as the Irwin Inn property. The proposal before you is straightforward. The existing structure on the property is old and boarded up. The applicants intend to demolish it and replace it with a new 2-story single detached dwelling. The new dwelling is an improvement to the existing state of the property, and that improvement continues with a brand new Class 4 septic system and a new small covered parking area located approximately 47 meters and 64 meters respectively from the lake. At the pre-consultation stage, the municipal planner identified a number of studies that would be required to support the application. Those studies were all completed and were submitted as part of the application package. They included an environmental impact statement, a grading plan, and a stormwater brief. In addition, a structural conditional assessment was completed by engineers at Cambium. That assessment concluded that the existing structure has significant structural integrity issues and that demolition was the recommended course of action. An archaeological assessment was also completed and no items of cultural significance were identified. With those studies in hand, we are confident the proposal is well supported. I do, however, wish to bring to council's attention a number of concerns regarding the processing of this application. There are several dates I'm about to walk you through, so please bear with me. These will become relevant when Kevin Duguay, the planner on this file, speaks next. This application was first submitted to the township on December 5th, 2025. Following the initial review, we resubmitted the requested changes on February 12th of this year. Despite repeated follow-up, we received no communication about the status of this file until March 20th, when we were advised it had been forwarded to DM Wills for review. Upon engaging with DM Wills, it became apparent that not all of our materials and prior communications with township staff had been passed along with them, which caused further delay. We received the notice of complete application from DM Wills on May 5th. However, the notice of public meeting was never sent to me as the agent of record on this file, not by email, not by mail. I only learned of tonight's meeting because the property owners contacted me directly on May 26th to let me know that they had received the notice. That same day, I reached out to township staff to flag that I had not received it. In response, I was emailed a comment consolidation letter from DM Wills containing comments on the technical peer review of the stormwater management and grading plan, as well as the environmental impact statement. That letter was dated May 19th on Douro-Dummer letterhead, yet we didn't receive it until May 26th, a full week after the letter was written. While we were able to respond to those comments and submit the required information to the township this morning, that timeline asked our professional partners and us to turn around substantive technical revisions in only 4 business days. Had we received those comments on May 19th when the letter was drafted, or even on May 8th when the township first received the peer reviews, we would have had considerably more time to prepare for this meeting. As such, the requested changes to the environmental impact statement and grading plan were received on May 26th, have been completed by our professional partners at this stage, and were submitted to DM Wills first thing this morning, as Amanda alluded to. Further to the processing concerns I've outlined this evening, I will now pass things over to Kevin Duguay, who is online this evening, the author of the planning justification report on this file. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Mayor Watson, I'm assuming you're able to hear and see me.
I certainly can. Yes, thank you.
I was going to wave my hand just to get your attention, but and I appreciate you having to coordinate a meeting by virtual means. So thank you for saying. As follow up to Holly's comments, I was retained by Holly and the property owners to provide professional planning services, particularly the production of a planning justification report. I have, to that extent, reviewed all technical reports, pre-consultation notes. My staff also visited the property and provided detailed photography, feature mapping. I also considered the supplementary materials as filed with the township on February 12th, 26th. I was made aware that DM Will staff, Ms. Timmermans, was assigned this project in late March, which is that's fine. Like Holly, Mayor Watson, I had no placeholder in this for this item in my work agenda until May 26th. And to put in perspective, I'm not it's not meant as a criticism, but it really put us in a spot, myself included, that typically we have 20 days to prepare. We talk to the clients, we talk to the team. In the meanwhile, as Holly has rightfully provided to council, on May 26th, the notice was then received, including the consolidation of comments. In turn, the development team provided a supplementary EIS and grading plan. That's a very quick turnover. Now received, and DM Wills has provided responses. Now, my role, Mayor Watson and council members, as a professional planner, is to provide a report that speaks to the planning merits of a zoning application. Now, the property today enjoys a site-specific zoning, and the property itself, as Holly has referenced, was part of the overall land holdings of Irwin Inn. And as council is probably aware, the owners have been advancing a process to make available parts of the former Irwin Inn property for individual property development. And there will be also, council will be aware there's even some lot additions that are being contemplated in the same area. So this is one of several properties that form part of the former Irwin Inn property. And as you are aware, the property on the site is old and tired and is not worthy of reuse and redevelopment, hence the structural engineer report. So I considered that report. I've considered all the technical reports, and I arrived on December 1, 2025, through my planning justification report, I arrived at my professional planning opinion that this application had merit and that there was site-specific zoning that would be appropriate for this property that would allow for its responsible development. Now, subsequently, there were, as I alluded to earlier, in mid-February, a supplementary package was filed with the municipality, the township. I was aware of that and support its conclusions. Lastly, I have had opportunity today to review the EIS document, the supplement EIS and related technical materials, and DM Wills comments. And of note, DM Wills staff have said there is no further requirements for the EIS. That peer review is finished, and there is thus no environmental issues on this property. The Township Region Conservation Authority has also indicated that there would be a permit required and that they don't have any technical issues that would cause this application or development to be delayed. Now, fundamentally, it appears that the technical issue arising from the peer review completed by the engineering staff of DM Wills appears to be related to originally what was stormwater management. We've now learned that a stormwater management brief is no longer required. So it's limited your work, Mayor Watson, to lot grading and drainage. And that's a matter that is considered through the building permit process. There is absolutely no need for this application to be delayed. There is absolutely no need for this application to be subject to site plan control. It will mean additional cost, additional delays, and yet a further meeting of this council, all to approve a site plan agreement, which will reflect all the information that's already available and made available through the zoning bylaw amendment process. So I find as a professional planner, the condition for site plan control to be superfluous and unnecessary in this instance. With that in mind, Mayor Watson, council members, it remains my professional opinion since early December 2025 that the zoning bylaw amendment application as filed for 1386 Irwin Road, which would serve to modify an existing site-specific zoning, be approved. It is consistent with the 2024 provincial planning statement. It is in conformity with the county's official plan. And lastly, and most importantly, it is representative of good planning. Mayor Watson, council members, I make myself available now in the event you should have questions of myself. And thank you for the opportunity of addressing council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duguay. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on behalf of the agents or owners as part of the application team? Just before I move on.
Madam Mayor.
Council, do you have any questions of the team before us at this point, before we open the floor for public?
Madam Mayor, I'm just going to give the owner a moment to see if she wishes to speak. She is online.
Okay, I thought so. I didn't want to make assumptions. Thank you.
I don't see her turning her camera on, so I think we're good to move forward. There's also the architects for this file are in the room, but I don't believe they wish to speak at this moment.
Okay. And I don't see any hands up for questions from council. So I will ask a quick question. Mr. Duguay, the recommendation in in the staff report that's before council right now, that it be received and all the comments, and that council direct staff to prepare the amending bylaw for consideration at a future council meeting. So what you're suggesting is that council, based on what you've presented, that council would be, or your client would be better served if council were to pass a motion also supporting that to bring the bylaw forward, but also removing the site plan condition.
Mayor Watson, council members, that is indeed correct. That is the thrust of my professional recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, so is there anybody in the gallery or online who is interested in speaking, commenting on the application? This would be the time to do that. I'm hoping the clerk will flag me or say something that somebody's approaching the lectern at this point or not.
Anyone in the room wish to make any comments? No, Madam Mayor, there's no one in the room or online who wishes to make additional comments.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, council, any questions or comments of the group that's before you this afternoon about the application? Seeing no hands up, I'll just be looking for a motion then to close the public meeting, please. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. I saw your hand there. All in favor? And that motion carries. And then council, we're looking for a resolution. What would you like to do with the application that's before you? And as I had noted, there is a recommendation in the report. I've got Councillor Watt with his hand up.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion. We follow the recommendation to process the everything that was received tonight and to come back at a future meeting with the bylaw to make this process happen.
Okay. And does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson? So just to be clear, so with the motion, Councillor Watt, that you've made, it's not to remove the holding or the site plan control. You want to keep the site plan control on there, Councillor Watt?
I'd like to waive the site plan control.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the recommendation and also remove the requirement for site plan control.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Nelson, is that what are you fine with that as the seconder of that? Okay, I just want to clarify. Thank you for that clarification. I see you reaching for the mic. Is everything okay? Did you want to speak, Deputy Mayor? Or?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
Recommendation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Johnston.
To the chair, we can't do that by law tonight. You gotta wait and do it up.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Johnson just asked if we could do the bylaw tonight. I don't believe there is a bylaw prepared at this moment. We were waiting for council's direction.
Okay, thank you. I noticed it wasn't on the agenda. So we would move forward with the bylaw in due course, assuming council passes that motion this evening. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, on to file, this is item 8.2, another zoning bylaw amendment application, file R-03-26 for Indicom Drive. Council looking for a motion to open the public meeting. Councillor Johnston, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? That motion carries. And once again, I think Ms. Timmermans, are you going to go through that with us? Or I know we've got Diana Kay on the line. Who's presenting this one?
I am presenting this one as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and go through it a little bit quicker this
Thank
time
you.
rather than reading the full report.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to just assume that you guys have all read the report
We
through the
certainly have.
mayor to all council members. Okay, so this application is application R-03-26. EcoView Consulting Services has applied for the zoning bylaw amendment on behalf of Sean Harris of the Little Building Company for the property located at 17 Indicom Drive in the former township of Douro, now the Douro ward, in the township of Douro-Dummer. The subject property is currently subject to the Special District 177 zone in the bylaw. The property is approximately 0.9 hectares in area with 30.76 meters of frontage along Indicom Drive. Indicom Drive is a township maintained road that connects directly to County Road 4, close to the intersection of County Road 4 and Highway 28. The application indicates that the subject property is currently used for the Little Building Company and the Little Frozen Yogurt Company and is developed with one commercial building, a model display, and an accessory storage shed. The application proposes an addition of an 18-hole outdoor miniature golf course as a permitted use on the subject property. The miniature golf course is proposed to be constructed primarily through landscape features, including artificial turf, putting surfaces, decorative obstacles, landscaping elements, and pathways connecting each hole. An accessory building that is currently located on site is proposed to be repurposed for the storage of golf clubs, balls, maintenance equipment associated with the mini golf course. It'll operate seasonally and act as a secondary use to support the existing commercial uses on the property. There are no new buildings proposed as part of the development. The purpose of the zoning bylaw application is to apply a new special district zone, so Special District 270, to add the miniature golf course as a permitted use, as it's not a listed permitted use in the current special district, and provide some site-specific regulations to permit the site alteration and improvements on the site. The proposed zone will continue to permit all of the other uses and site-specific regulations outlined in the current zone, the Special District 177 zone. The applicants submitted both the zoning bylaw amendment application and site plan approval applications concurrently. Both were deemed complete on April 17th, 2026. Only the proposed new use is being considered at this time, and the special provisions will be confirmed through the detailed design and site plan amendments as required through your site plan control bylaw for the commercial property. A site visit was conducted by myself, the township planning consultant, on May 21st, 2026, confirming that 3 businesses actually currently operate on the site, including the Little Building Company, the Little Frozen Yogurt Company, and Cortha Sweets and Eats. There are also a number of existing structures consisting of outdoor eating areas, a dock, there's a gazebo structure, a sauna display, a secondary model building shed, and a play structure. It is assumed that all of this existing development on the site is proposed to remain, and it appears that site alterations have already commenced contrary to the existing site plan agreement and municipal bylaws. Excuse me, it's very dry in our office today. Okay, so given the technical comments received through our agency and departmental circulation, again, a draft amending bylaw has not been prepared at this time, pending the confirmation of several of those comments to ensure that the use can be accommodated on the site. through proper stormwater management, lot grading and drainage, et cetera. So those concerns can all be addressed through site plan control, and any specific provisions for the zoning special district can be included in a bylaw at that time once we kind of initiate that technical review. The notice of complete application and public meeting was given in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act and posted on the subject property, and a copy of the notice is attached to the agenda. In summary of the planning analysis, so the subject property is in the rural lands, and commercial development is permitted on rural lands where the site conditions are suitable, including sewage and water services, and that development can be sustained by those rural service levels. The proposed development is permitted under the PPS, in my opinion. There was a servicing and sanitary facilities confirmation letter prepared by Ecoview submitted with the application that states that the existing services can support the additional use, and that the existing portable toilets for public use is proposed to be maintained. Given that it's such a seasonal and recreational use, I believe that the servicing requirements are limited in this case. We did receive a number of comments from the building department requesting additional information regarding the type of occupancy, maximum capacity of the site in order to determine, which or how many portable toilets are required and that sort of thing. All these comments can be satisfied later through the site plan control application and the agreement that's required with the township. Adequate servicing appears to be achievable on the property, so I don't think any of this should hold back the zoning and the public meeting that we're currently in. There were a number of features identified on the site through the pre-consultation meeting that happened in November 2024. The aggregate resources that was identified was determined to be super small, and given the property is so small, it's really not likely that the property would be suitable for extraction, and therefore we didn't ask for any assessment of that resource. In terms of the natural heritage features on the property, there were no features on the property, but as you know, adjacent lands are considered in the provincial policy. Given that there was no features on the property and there's a road located in between the unevaluated wetland, we did not require an environmental impact study or wetland evaluation for this either. In terms of the cultural heritage and archaeological policies of the PPS, the applicants did actually consult with Hiawatha First Nations regarding the development and confirming the archaeological potential. Through that consultation process, it was determined that given the level of disturbance on the property, that an archaeological assessment wouldn't be required. The Act will continue to support the concerns of the First Nation if and when anything is found. So no issues there. The subject property isn't within Autonomy Regulation Conservation Authority. ORCA was circulated, however, and they have confirmed that there are no concerns with natural hazards on this property. In terms of the official plan, it's currently designated a rural industrial property, and it's subject to a special policy that I wish I showed some visuals for this, but it's subject to a special policy that is applied to a number of different properties at this intersection, both across Highway 28 and then that stretch of property along Indicom Drive and County Road 4. The special policy allows for a range of different uses, but it does not include a miniature golf course or some similar recreational uses that we can, consider similar. A dry commercial use the proposed use of the miniature golf course does meet the definition of dry, so no official plan amendment is required, but the miniature golf course is not listed under the permitted uses for the zone. I'm trying to speed through these quickly. Okay, there's no issues with property access. There was a traffic study prepared by Dillon Consulting, submitted with the application, which was peer reviewed by DM Wills. Our team concurred with the results and recommendations for trip generation. However, they did ask for some more comments in the brief about the parking demand and supply and whether there would be a shortage. We had similar concerns from a planning perspective to ensure that this use can be accommodated on site, given it is a fairly constrained site. So we would like to deal with those kind of detailed design considerations through the site plan approval stage as well. Okay, so for the zoning, I was starting to allude to this. So the special district 77, there is a number of permitted uses. However, the use as a golf course is not one of them. We would like to add the miniature golf course as a list underneath the permitted uses and implement site-specific regulations to permit the site alteration improvements to the site. Because there's no actual building, the current setbacks don't really apply to this type of use. So we want to make sure that there's appropriate setbacks for this recreational use, just for public safety and just functioning of the site. I've included a very detailed analysis of our parking recommendations. Since, as I was saying, there's no building proposed for the site, so technically there's no required parking based on the way that it's calculated in the zoning bylaw. I did go through a pretty thorough and I think logical explanation of how we kind of came up with the recommended parking. We can of course continue to negotiate and work with the agent and the site plan designers to make sure that it can be accommodated, and that can all be dealt with through the site plan agreement with the township. Okay, so in conclusion, we do think that it upholds the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. There were a number of comments submitted by agencies. Just one second, I've got my summary here. So no comments of concern on the zoning was received from the Township Building Department, the Fire Chief, Peterborough County Engineering and Construction Division, Hiawatha First Nation, Bell Canada, Hydro One, Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board. And then letters were received from Alderville First Nation requesting additional consultation. Comments from the building department were included in the package, mostly related to building permit and site plan control issues. And then Ministry of Transportation also included no concerns on the zoning, but they do have a number of different approval conditions and permits required through site plan. Otonabee Region Conservation, I provided a summary of that one. Permits are not required. They did have some stormwater management considerations and comments that would be addressed through the site plan control process as well. And the 2 peer reviews were also included in our package as well. Okay, so in conclusion, there were no public. Yes, there were no public comments on this file received as of today as well. So in conclusion, the zoning bylaw amendment proposes to add the miniature golf course to the list of permitted uses in the special district zone. However, through our review, through the special district 177 zone, through our review of the application and the zoning bylaw, we do recommend that a new special district zone, it would be number 270, is to permit the permitted use, and it would permit the existing permitted uses that occur in 177, as well as the addition of the miniature golf course and any special provisions that come out of the site plan process. So subject to site plan control and to the satisfaction of township staff, through the technical review comments, I find that the application does meet the intent of the provincial and municipal policies, and at council's direction, we will prepare an amending bylaw to permit the proposed miniature golf course use and establish any site-specific regulations that come out of the site plan review process will be prepared for council consideration at a future council meeting. I hope that went quicker.
It felt quicker. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so I believe the owner, the applicant is in the room. We've got EcoView on the line here for this one, it looks like, to speak to that. So I will turn it over to Ashlyn Kennedy to say a few words, it looks like.
Thank you, Mayor Watson. Don't have much to add. Amanda provided a pretty thorough review there. Just that we did receive the comment package from the Township and DM Wells, and we're working through to address those as quickly as we can, as the goal is to hopefully get this up and running for the summertime to take advantage of the season that we're in right now, as it is seasonal in nature. I do think Sean might be in the council chambers there, so not sure if he has anything to add, but we're here to answer any questions if council has them.
Madam Clerk, is the applicant making his way to the lectern?
He is indeed. He'll just be one moment.
Wonderful, thank you. Just with your microphone, please, Mr. Harris. There we go.
There we go. I'm not very accustomed to all this, so bear with me here, but I'll just keep it short. I just want to say thank you for considering this proposal. The whole goal here is just to create, it's a little bit of landscaping to create a mini golf course at our property. We're very excited about it. Every single customer we've talked to is very excited. I had a little girl running the other day and looking up and seeing some things happening in preparation, and it was just, Mommy, they're starting to build a mini golf course. It's so exciting. So I think it's going to be great for the township. One thing I do just want to express is my concern with this process has been a long process. We started in November or December of 2024. And, with it, it's been pretty slow to get responses. Not one timeline has been met by the township. And I understand they're busy and I'm not blaming anyone and whatnot. As this proceeds, more and more engineering is required, and the process, the application process to turn this, create the zoning bylaw, do the engineering and all this for some minor landscaping is now approaching about $100,000. We are a very small business. We made $100,000 last year. The more this keeps going on, the more debt we have to incur, the more likely I'm in to lose my home. And the less likely that the business succeeds. If it has a ton of debt, it can't go on. So I don't know the process with the engineering stuff, specifically with all the comments back and forth. All I know is that every time DM Wills makes a comment and then our stormwater engineers make a comment, we have to pay for more. They have now requested us to do a site survey, topographic survey. That's going to be another $8,000. And then I hear about this last person just came in. They paid, however much for that gentleman to come in and propose. Can we remove the site plan application part? I wish I had the professional and the budget to hire that guy to do the same. I don't know if there's any way we can try and speed up the site plan application part. I'm hoping this from my understanding, the bylaw seems to have gone well. But anything we can do to try and limit these extreme engineering costs would be appreciated. Originally, we were hoping we didn't even do too much. I realized we are now changing our stormwater management because we had a pond for our firewater reservoir. That pond wasn't holding water very well. We needed more space for parking, so we chose to put a $60,000 concrete cistern in to hold the firewater so that we can meet those requirements. Happy to do that. And that gives us more space for parking. So, once we needed to do these stormwater engineering reports anyways, we've kind of gone down that process. But I don't know. I'd love council to tell me if there's a thing I should be asking for here, but anything we can do to help kind of make this site plan approval process a bit more efficient would be really appreciated. And if I should be asking for something in specific, please let me know. But other than that, thank you very much for your time and consideration with this project. And yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Harris.
questions for me?
Yeah, I was going to say, does council have any questions of the owner or the agent?
Or to the chair to see my light on.
Mhm,
Okay,
yep,
I
okay.
don't have a necessary question. I just want to give you, say you deserve a lot of credit. And the problem I have, which is with all this stuff, is that there's so much, like you said, back and forth, the time it takes, the money it costs. It must be very sickening on the other side. And we sit here and review these reports back and forth. And I mean, I don't know where the days go on where things are very simple. I mean, you got to make sure you're in line with what you're doing and it's satisfactory. But some of these things that we got to do, I'm in favor of what you're saying. It's unbelievable. It just puts the little guy that he can't hardly do anything anymore these days. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I mean, our township needs little things like this. And the last thing we want to do is penalize anybody that's doing what you're doing. So I'm gonna say thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor Johnston. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And Sean, I know you and I have talked a few times as you've been going through the process. And we're trying to help navigate that process with you and on your behalf. And the project once open, will be great. And not just from a business standpoint, that's why you're doing it. Let's be honest, right? You're not a not-for-profit organization, but it'll be great for the broader community in the township, and a very visible location to have some fun activity going on right at that corner. So personally, I appreciate your persistence and your patience, as we've been, you and I have had dialogue throughout the process as well. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions beyond that. One thing I should raise, Sean, just to your point in terms of what the previous application, removing the site plan condition, that'll be a conversation for council to have. But one of the big differences here between your project and the prior application is a commercial property versus a residential property. The site plan control bylaw was put in or updated a couple of years ago, so that it would protect the shorelines of waterfront properties. The commercial site plan control, I believe, is something that the township has had in place for quite some time. So there is that piece, and commercial development, as you know, different rules for fire and safety and things like that. So I saw the clerk's hand go up and back down again. I don't know if, Madam Clerk, you wanted to add something?
No, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that Councillor Watt wanted to make a comment.
Thank you. Amanda, your hand's up. Did you want to interject on my comment about the site plan control before I pass it over to Councillor Watt?
Yes, through the mayor, I'd like to address council and members of the public. And yes, explain the whole point of site plan control with commercial properties is so that the technical review and design process can occur instead of back and forth. It can occur in a bubble. Our engineers, the township engineers, can work with the applicant's engineers and come to a solution together. And then the agreement that is signed with the owner of the property and the township, that is to basically hold the owner accountable to doing the things that they've agreed to during the site plan design process. So that's the mechanism, as it is a well-established process across the entire province. And like I said, it's very standard for commercial properties. So thank you for mentioning that, Heather. In terms of the information that has to be provided for that process. The initial site plan agreement that's registered for this property and the site plan only contains, as I mentioned, it includes the main building, it includes a model building, and then it includes I think that's actually it. The septic system. So those are, I think there was an accessory building approved on there as well. So those are the only like approved buildings on the site that are approved right now. The additional uses, so the uses that were included in that agreement as well were the warehousing use for the building and construction companies. So that's kind of the industrial use. And I believe the original bakery was included as a retail component to that, but basically anything beyond that small square footage has not been considered at all. So the yogurt, the eating establishment, the movement of the office space for the building company has been moved to the model display, for lack of a better term. So there's a bunch of changes that have occurred over the years, and in the township's best interest, we really need to get that down on a site plan and into the agreement so that there's no liability on either side if something comes up in terms of drainage or stormwater. This is a very busy intersection. The MTO had a lot of stormwater concerns. The county didn't submit comments based on the fact that the MTO was going to submit comments, so they kind of back away in that aspect. And then there's no regulated features on this property, so Orca's kind of stepped back, but they did provide us with some considerations to consider through site plan control. So there's definitely some technical things to work out. I didn't want to draft a bylaw based on assumptions of appropriate setbacks that are going to be required. We don't know yet. On the stormwater design, we don't know if the composition is going to work yet. So I didn't want to bring forth a bylaw for council consideration that the property owner might have to do again. Adding a holding provision to the same bylaw doesn't achieve any of this either, in my opinion. You would still have to apply to remove the hold, and it just adds unnecessary process. So dealing with things through the established process of site plan control, and then basically putting a bylaw in front of council at a later date that's said and done, everyone agrees to it, will make this process a lot more efficient.
Thank you for that. Okay, council, any questions of what's before you so far? And I still have to open the floor to the public as well to speak on this. Just to more so reminding myself than the rest of the group where we are. So council, do you have any questions? Councillor Johnston.
I've got one question through the chair there. Now, is this going to be open 7 days a week? Is this what you're proposing?
That would be the goal, yes. For
Yep.
seasonal, but yes.
Right, seasonal, of course. Now, will you be fencing that in somewhat of some sort?
Yeah, we'll be adding some trees and some hedges, and I've got some split cedar rails to kind of fence it that I picked up the other day.
But my only main concern for your sake is that without any gates or anything else, I mean, anybody could come around there at night and kind of put a real damage to this, which would be very sad. But I think that's my only main concern on your behalf is that, how do we keep after hours, keep people away from it?
I appreciate that. And we will be adding security cameras and security system for that as well. But yes, that's my concern too.
Councillor Watt. Oh, with your microphone, there you go.
Okay, thank you through Madam Mayor. Sean, thanks very much for this. I think it's going to be a great addition to our township when you get it all said and done. And I know there's hurdles to jump, and it's a pain a lot of times. And Councillor Johnson just kind of took a bit of my thunder, but not quite, whatever. And what really tweaked me was something you said about the child earlier on, saying, oh, look, there's going to be so you've got a sweets shop, which it's good. You've got the yogurt place, stuff like that, so you've got a lot of young ones back where, so somebody's on the mini golf course, now all of a sudden somebody says, oh, there's ice cream or there's yogurt, or whatever they got, and they just hightail it across. Well, that road going around that corner is pretty busy. So that was going to be my question. Is there going to be some kind of a fence just along the road to deter kids from doing just that? Like that's a safety concern and I'm not trying to spend more of your money. I just want to make sure that everyone is safe.
No, I completely agree, and I've been thinking about that a lot too. And actually, as we have to revise some plans and stuff, we actually changed the parking lot a little bit so that we can create a path around between the frozen yogurt and the mini golf to avoid people going onto the road. But yes, that's something I've been putting a lot of thought into.
Thanks for that clarification. Any other questions from council before I open the floor to the public? Seeing nothing further, is there anybody online or in the room who wants to speak for or against this application or simply just ask questions?
Madam Mayor, I don't have anyone online. I'm just waiting to see if anyone in the room wishes to speak.
Thank you. This would be the time to do that.
There is no one in the room who wishes to make a comment.
Okay, thank you. So council then, we'll just be looking to
Sorry,
move.
Mr. Harris just wants to make another comment.
Oh, sure, of course.
One just last question, and again, maybe I'm off topic here, but is it possible to request that we don't need a topographic survey required for part of our site plan application, or is that not for this council meeting?
I'll ask Amanda to weigh in on that just to give council some guidance, please.
Yes, so the peer reviewer, we use our stormwater management engineers, so they require topographic survey points to, and so should your designer, quite frankly, to show the difference between existing conditions, where the water is flowing now, what outlet is it going to, and then do a comparison of that for the proposed development. So there is some significant changes to grading and landscaping, as you've mentioned, some trees and that kind of thing. So in order to kind of do a pre-post analysis, they need those topographic survey points to complete that process. The existing topographic survey points were, I think, if my memory serves correctly, they were from even before the last survey, or sorry, the last site plan was registered with the agreement. So they are quite dated.
Okay, thank you for that. Council, any other questions? Seeing nothing further, I will now be looking to close the public meeting. Councillor Watt, seconded by Councillor Johnston, all in favor? That motion carries. And council, with the your agenda package, there was a report with a recommendation on the top. Councillor Johnston.
Yeah, I'm going to follow the recommendation regarding the zoning bylaw amendment and then receive all the comments that have been given tonight. And that we will request staff to bring back at the future meeting amendment to the bylaw.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that's approved. Thank you. See you, Amanda. It's been nice spending this time with you. Quality time. Okay, moving forward, we have another public meeting. This is item 8.3 on the agenda for zoning bylaw amendment application file R-05-26 for County Road 6. I think this is where we have Diana Kay in the room for this application. I apologize earlier for misaligning you with that file. But right now we'll turn it over, looking for a motion to open the public meeting. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? And that is approved. And we have our planner, Ms. Fitzgerald, who's going to walk us through that.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members of council, staff, and the public. Before council this evening is report planning 2026-17 regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, file number R-05-26. The property subject to the zoning bylaw amendment is located in part of Lot 30, Concession 7 in the Dummer Ward, municipally known as 2661 County Road 6. The rezoning has been submitted to fulfill the conditions imposed on consent application file number B7924, filed with the County of Peterborough and granted conditional approval on October 8th, 2024. The property is currently developed for residential use in the form of a single detached dwelling, a detached private garage, and multiple sheds. The purpose of the consent application is to create one new lot for residential use. Where the new lot line will be, it will bisect the subject property, separating the existing detached private garage and several of the existing sheds from the existing dwelling. The proposed amendment will serve to rezone the severed lot from the rural zone to the Special District 268 zone to permit the existing accessory structures to remain on the severed lot in the absence of a main use, to address various deficiencies from the zoning regulations pertaining to accessory buildings, and to otherwise apply the permitted uses and regulations of the residential zone to the severed lot to facilitate its anticipated residential development in the future. The subject property is within the rural lands under the policies of the provincial planning statement, and residential development, including lot creation where adequate sewage and water services are available, are permitted on rural lands. Development which can be sustained by rural service levels is promoted, and development is to be appropriate to the available and/or planned infrastructure. The existing dwelling is serviced by a private individual septic system and well. Given the surrounding development patterns, it is anticipated that the severed lot can be similarly serviced. The creation of one additional lot is not anticipated to result in an overburden to the existing rural service levels or municipal infrastructure. New land uses, including lot creation, are required to comply with provincial minimum distance separation requirements. Although located inside of the MDS ARC calculated for the livestock facilities at 2725 County Road 6, the severed lot is eligible for a reduced MDS setback given the presence of other sensitive land uses within the intervening area. Since the writing of the report, comments from Autonomy Conservation have been received. The comments provide that the proposed development is not located within a known hazard. Therefore, the application is consistent with Chapter 5 of the PPS, referencing natural hazards. Overall, the application is considered consistent with the provincial planning statement. The subject property is designated rural in the official plan. Low-density residential development in the form of one single detached dwelling per lot is permitted in the residential designation. The official plan also requires that new development meet provincial minimum distance separation requirements. As previously noted, the new lot and subsequent residential development will conform to the provincial MDS guidelines. New lots in the rural designation are also limited to 1 hectare in area. The severed lot will have an area of approximately 0.43 hectares. The application conforms to the official plan, and the approval of the rezoning application will also bring the consent application into conformity with the official plan. The subject property is zoned rural in the township zoning bylaw. The retained parcel is to remain in the rural zone, while the rezoning will serve to apply the permitted uses and regulations of the residential zone to the severed parcel. Both zones do permit a permanent single detached dwelling. In both zones, the minimum lot area and lot frontage requirements for permanent single detached dwelling are 0.4 hectares and 45 meters respectively. As noted in the report, both the severed and retained parcels will meet these minimum requirements. The general provisions of the bylaw require that the principal building on a lot be substantially constructed before the construction of any accessory buildings or structures may take place. The rezoning will serve to permit the existing detached private garage and sheds to remain on the severed lot without a dwelling present. The application of the permitted uses and regulations of the residential zone will ensure that the use of these accessory buildings do remain as incidental to the future residential use. The rezoning will also serve to permit a maximum accessory lot coverage of 5.5% for the severed lot. to recognize the existing deficient rear yard setbacks of the existing sheds, which are 0.4 meters, 0.6 meters, and 1.3 meters respectively. And the rezoning will also permit a maximum height of 7.62 meters for the existing detached private garage. Impacts associated with the existing accessory buildings and structures have already been established, and their continued use as accessory to a future residential use is not anticipated to result in any negative impacts to the municipality or adjacent landowners. Other than these identified zoning deficiencies, the applicable provisions of the zoning bylaw are complied with. No comments have been received from members of senior staff or members of the public. Comments have been received from the following agencies: Peterborough County Engineering and Construction Division have no objections, comments, or concerns with respect to the application. Alderville First Nation inquired whether building permits had been obtained for the existing buildings. General information regarding building permit history for the property was provided, and no further comments were received in response. Curve Lake First Nation noted no concerns with respect to the application, but did request to be notified immediately if any remains or archaeological resources are unearthed during any excavation, or if any new undisclosed or unforeseen issues potentially impacting the environments or their rights arise. There is no additional development proposed together with the consent or rezoning application at this time. Autonomy Conservation noted that the proposed development is not located within a known natural hazard and is therefore the application is consistent with Chapter 5 of the PPS. The proposed development will not create new or exacerbate any existing hazards. Permits from Autonomy Conservation are not required, and source protection plan policies do not apply. The rezoning application meets the intent of the applicable provincial and municipal policies. It is recommended that council receive this report together with all comments related to the application, provided that there are no additional comments received which require further investigation. It is recommended that council approve the application and proceed to enact the amending bylaw at the appropriate time during the meeting this evening. That's the report. Happy to answer questions if council has any. The owner and applicant has indicated that they are not present this evening.
Thank you for that, Ms. Fitzgerald, and I'm confused with my notes of who's the agent for which file we're talking about today. So, but the owner applicant agent is not here to speak on this file.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
the owner and applicant are one and the same, Ms. Darlene Armstrong.
Right.
And there's no agent for the file.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any questions from council on the application that's before you? Seeing nothing, I'd like to open it up for any comments from the public, either in support or against this application. If there anybody, I'm not seeing anybody online. I don't know, Madam Clerk, if there's anybody in the gallery who's looking to come forward and speak.
Madam Mayor, there doesn't appear to be anyone who wishes to speak on this application.
Thank you very much. So council, if there's no questions or comments from any of you, I'll just be looking to close the public meeting. Councillor Johnston, seconded by Councillor Landsman. All in favor? That motion carries. Given the fact that the applicant isn't here, I don't think it's necessary that we look to bump up the bylaw. We can address that in due course as we flow through the agenda, but looking for probably a motion on the recommendation. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, Madam Mayor, through you, I'd move that we accept the recommendation that Emily has put forward.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Watt, I saw your hand up. Are you seconding that or?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we are done with the public meetings. Let's dig into the rest of the agenda. Of course, the public comment period. We had nobody register to make any comments, so we're going to move straight into staff reports. Item 10.1 regarding zoning bylaw amendment file R-02-20. And Ms. Fitzgerald, I'll hand this one back over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, before council this evening is report planning 2026-14 regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, file number R-02-20. The property subject to the zoning bylaw amendment application is located in part of lots 10 and 11, concession 1 in the Dummer ward, municipally known as 804 Ironwoods Drive. The subject property is approximately 28.57 hectares in area, together with approximately 45.5 meters of frontage along Ironwoods Drive and 1,350 meters of frontage along the Indian River. The property was formerly used as a 9-hole golf course, which has since ceased operations. No development is existing on the property apart from an accessory garage storage building for which a building permit was previously issued. The property is currently zoned restricted commercial tourist 2, restricted open space 2, environmental conservation, and environmental conservation provincially significant wetland. The existing zones do correspond to the former golf course use, as well as limited portions of the natural heritage features on site. The application proposes to rezone a portion of the property from the restricted open space 2 zone to the hamlet residential zone to facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling. The application also proposes to rezone portions of the property from the restricted commercial tourist 2 zone and the restricted open space 2 zone to the special district 266 holding zone to permit a contractor's yard and to establish site-specific regulations for the use as outlined in the draft bylaw. The holding provision requires that the owner enter into a site plan agreement with the township for the portion of the lot to be used for the contractor's yard. Other portions of the lot zoned restricted commercial tourist 2 and restricted open space 2 are to be rezoned environmental conservation as per the recommendations of the scoped environmental impact study that was submitted in support of the application. The environmental conservation provincially significant wetland zone is not subject to change. As you may recall, a public meeting for the application was held earlier this year on March 17th, 2026. At that time, staff determined that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conform to the official plan pending approval of the concurrently filed official plan amendment application. So since the public meeting, the official plan amendment application has been approved by Peterborough County. It was approved on April 22nd, 2026, and no appeals were filed prior to the expiry of the statutory appeal period on May 13th, 2026. The official plan amendment is now in full force and effect as of said date. Staff's position on the application, as discussed during the March 17, 2026 public meeting, has not changed, and nor have any of the proposed zoning regulations for the property. The rezoning application is considered to meet the intent of applicable provincial and municipal policies. Upon receiving all comments related to the proposed amendment and with all comments having been addressed, prior to or during the previously held public meeting, it is recommended that council approve the application and proceed to enact the amending bylaw at the appropriate time during the council meeting this evening. That's all I've got to say on that one. I will spare council the gory details of the conformity tests again. The original report was appended to this report as part of the council agenda. I'm available for any questions if there are any, and Diana Kay is acting as the agent now on behalf of the owner for this application. So Diana is also present if there are any questions of her.
Thank you very much. We're just throwing Diana Kay's name around all over the place today. This is the right file. I apologize. Okay. And thank you for taking us through that timeline as well, Ms. Fitzgerald, with respect to the public meeting and county approval and through to today. Council, do you have any questions of staff on the report that's before you? Seeing nothing, we'll just be looking for a motion. Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd move that we accept the recommendation and
We follow
move.
the okay. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Landsman? Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Council, I don't know if you're interested in moving 13.4 up, the bylaw to execute that since the agent is here. Nods. Deputy Mayor Nelson, are you looking to do that?
Sure, Madam Mayor, I'll move forward that recommendation to pass the bylaw this time.
Okay, so that's bylaw, it's listed as 13.4 in the agenda, bylaw number 2026-23. Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Johnston, any discussion? Councillor Watt, did you put your hand up? Sorry. Nope. Okay, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we are now moving on to item 10.2, curbside garbage collection, and that is Mr. Condon's file to present, please.
Thank you, through the mayor. The report. No.
I can hear you. Yeah, it's on. I can't see you because of the camera angle, but I was able to hear you.
Sorry, we'll try that again. Sorry.
We'll just shuffle people along. There we go, Mr. Condon. Welcome.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Quite all right.
Through you, the mayor, the Public Works 2026-06 report before you is seeking council authorization for staff to develop and issue a joint request for proposal for curbside garbage collection services with interested neighboring municipalities. As council is aware, our current garbage collection expires at the end of 2026. Staff have been reviewing some options for the next procurement process and are exploring opportunities to improve efficiency and potentially reduce some costs. The proposed approach would involve partnering with neighboring municipalities to issue a single RFP and work collaboratively through the evaluation process. This is intended to be a smaller scale intermunicipal partnership rather than a county-wide collection model. Staff believe this approach allows us to pursue the benefits of joint procurement while maintaining a local focus. It is important to note that each municipality would retain full control over its own service levels, collection standards, schedules, and final contract approval. Participating in the RFP process does not commit the township to accepting any proposal or changing current service levels. If approved, staff will begin discussions and procurement planning with interested municipalities, and we'll return to council in late summer with the results and any recommendations regarding the contract award. There's no immediate financial impacts associated with this recommendation. Any future costs will be presented to council for consideration and approval. So staff are recommending that council receive the report and authorize staff to proceed with the development and issuance of a joint RFP for curbside garbage collection services with neighboring municipalities. Thank you, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Condon, for that. Council, any questions? Councillor Landsman?
Thank you. Yes, through you, Madam Chair, to Jake, do you have an idea of the interest that other townships have, other municipalities have in thus far?
Through the chair, yes, we have potentially 2 other interested parties.
That's great. Thank you very much. I would make a motion to accept the report if somebody would like to second it.
I'll come back to you for that motion. Just want to make sure that everybody else on council has had an opportunity to ask questions. I couldn't see the whole bench there. I don't see any other hands up. So does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Johnston? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. On to item 10.3, which is the 2024 Audit Action Plan update. And we have Ms. Grenier, our treasurer, to give us an update on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to members of council, I am presenting an update on the progress of the action plan to complete the 2024 audit. Overall, the 2024 audit continues to progress in line with the action plan previously endorsed by council. The financial statements remain substantially complete and balanced, with the main item being the building permit deferral adjustment under new required accounting standards PS 3400. The related calculations and reconciliations for the building permit deferral have been completed by staff and have been submitted to the auditors for review before finalization. Other audit items are also moving forward, including auditor request items and required supporting documentation. At this time, staff remain on track for the presentation of the 2024 audited financial statements to council on August 4th, which is subject to the auditor's capacity and ability to complete their remaining work within the time available. The recommendation is that council receive the report for information. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Grenier. I'm going to jump in with a quick question. In your I would say absence, but last meeting, Mr. Joshi was presenting a report, and we were talking about at that report the 2024 FIRs not being up to date on the with the province, and I'm just wondering, this is something that's important, where as you know, the OMPF funding we haven't got yet for this year because of that, as he had indicated. Are we expecting that once the financials, like once the audit is complete and the FIR is up to date with the province, that the 2026 OMPF funding will still be available to us? Again, can you speak in a little bit more detail to that?
Sure, through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we are, those funds are allocated to us. They're just delaying the release of the funds until we provide them with the 2024 audited statements and the updated FIR. Once that's done, the funds will be released.
Thank you for confirming that. Council, any questions of Ms. Grenier? Councillor Johnston.
Question I have, even though we haven't sent it in yet, and they've already given us so much money to be sitting there and waiting to be pulled on, would that have any bearing on it maybe being more or less, or is it cut and dry? That's what it's going to be.
Through Madam Mayor, the amount is already predetermined, and that's the amount we're going to get.
Any other questions of council? Councillor Johnston, were you turning off your mic? You're good? Sorry, I thought I didn't want to cut you off if you were still talking. Any other questions from council? Then just looking for a motion to receive this report. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? That motion carries. We're now going to move on to item 10.4, the policy to allow for multi-year budgets, and that's back over to Ms. Grenier, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to members of council, This report is regarding the development of a multi-year budget policy. Staff recognize the value of a multi-year budgeting, and support it as a future initiative. It can strengthen long-term planning, improve transparency, and better align financial decisions with council priorities. However, staff are recommending that this work be deferred until key financial system improvements are in place. Staff see the need for a budget software solution and will be bringing a request to council at a future date. Once acquired, staff would benefit from time to implement that system, become familiar with it, and stabilize its use before adding the complexity of a formal multi-year budget model. In addition, the replacement of Great Plains, the township's ERP system, is a significant multi-year township priority. By way of explanation, an ERP system or enterprise resource planning system is the township's core financial and administrative software. It is the main system used to manage functions such as accounting, taxation, purchasing, payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, financial reporting, and more. Because a multi-year budgeting policy should align with the township's long-term financial systems and processes, staff believe this work would be more effective after a replacement ERP system has been purchased and substantially implemented. Proceeding sooner may create duplication of effort and could require the policy and related procedures to be revised once new systems and processes are in place. Staffing capacity is also a consideration. The finance department is currently managing ongoing operational demands along with major modernization initiatives. The recommendation is that council receive this report, defer the development of a formal multi-budget policy until after the purchase and implementation of a budget software solution and the purchase and substantial implementation of a replacement ERP system for Great Plains, and that staff report back as part of the 2028 budget presentation with recommendations on timing and approach for a multi-year budget plan. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Grenier. Council, any questions of our treasurer?
I've just
Councillor
got one
Johnston.
question. When we get the software and we can do our extending for a couple of years, would that possibly mean that we may need less people in finance?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at this point, I don't see that happening. No.
Any other questions of staff? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I think that a lot of, or you can tell me what the answer to this is, but I believe that we're seeing a lot more municipalities now lining up to try and do multi-year budgets. Is that correct?
Through Madam Mayor, that is correct. And there is a value for it. Accounting standards have changed over the past 10 years or so to ensure that council is forward thinking and that during the budget processes, we are looking forward rather than just focusing on the next year. So I believe it is a really important process and it is something that we should definitely investigate and move forward with, but we just need to make sure that the time is right.
And another question to that, if I may. I know that in some cases there was value in having them plans set out, for example, what works were going to be done for the, say, maybe over the next 3 years, possibly. And there's also the opportunity for other agencies to line up their work. And that's becoming a problem, I know, within dealing with a lot of other agencies in trying to get them to do work for us as a municipality, all within that same budget year. So I believe we're definitely on the right track to make them improvements and possibly save the municipality some money in doing a longer term benefit. So I'm very much in favor of doing that. So Thanks for your answers.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. CAO Davis.
Uh, Through the mayor to the members of council, and to respond to the deputy mayor's comments, I agree with you, and I don't think, I believe the treasurer reinforces the support for multi-year budgeting. I would also highlight the fact that we are also aggressively doing asset management planning as is required of us of the province. And a lot of the asset management planning that we do helps to set forward timelines that also help to capture those opportunities. So while we may not have multi-year budgets for a couple of years, asset management planning is coming to the forefront as well. And so I think between both of those two activities over the next 5 years, we'll be in a good spot.
Thank you for that. Councillor Landsman.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Pardon me. I do think that the planning, putting off the purchase of the software until you have everything in place, I think that is a very good plan. And I think it's well noted in the recommendation.
Thank you for those comments. Does anyone want to move the recommendation that's with us right now? Councillor Watt, did I just see your hand up? No? Yes?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I will make a recommendation here in a second, but,
Sure.
and as what Councillor Lansman just said, like putting it off a little while, but that's also going to give our treasurer time to monitor how it's working for other municipalities, because as good as it sounds in my mind that, hey, we can maybe plan 2 or 3 years ahead on certain things. I'm also wondering with the changes and everything that happen year after year after year, and this comes up and that falls apart and something else doesn't happen. Is it going to be more work for the treasurer to try and track all these things, with the changes and everything, trying to do a multi-year one? So but I'm totally in favor of her recommendation here right now, which I will move it if you would like to hold off on it for now and keep monitoring it and come back in the future with a recommendation for us.
Okay, thank you for making that motion. Does anyone want to second? Councillor Johnston, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. We are now going to move on to item 10.5, key events survey results. And that is coming into the clerk's office. Is it, who do we have presenting? Oh, Ava Baldy's presenting that one.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm presenting a report from the Clerk's Office 2026-14 regarding the results of our 2026 key events survey. The key events survey was created to receive feedback on our 3 key events. That's Douro Canada Day Parade, Warsaw Remembrance Day Parade, and Warsaw Santa Claus Parade. The survey ran from April 20th to May 8th, 2026, and received 31 responses. The results suggested that residents continue to value township key events and see them as important community traditions. Respondents value township events as important family community traditions, and that they believe it's important for their families. To improve attendance of post-event activities, signage, and advertising needs to be improved. The survey also showed that most respondents were satisfied with the timing of all key events. And based on feedback, we are not recommending any major changes to event schedule for 2026. Respondents noted the importance of outreach to businesses to encourage participation in both parades. Respondents noted that communications about events could be stronger, including clearer promotion and better awareness of activities connected to these events. The survey also showed that volunteer interest remained limited, and this was displayed by only 19% of respondents reporting that they would be interested in volunteering. Given the results of the survey, my recommendations are as follows: that the Clerk's Office 2026-14 from June 2nd be received, and that Council directs staff to maintain the township's current key event program timings for 2026 with no major event changes, that Council directs staff to implement minor operational improvements focused on communication, signage, youth-oriented programming, business outreach, volunteer recruitment, and that we report back as appropriate throughout the 2026 planning process, and that council request another key event survey in spring 2027 to seek yearly feedback regarding key events. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Council, do you have any questions of Ms. Baldy today? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for that. That was I read through a lot of these comments. I read through them all, and there's some very good ones in there. There was some, a little bit of negative feedback on one or two things, nothing major, that's for sure. And then there was a couple of comments in there that you have to put them in because they were made, but they really didn't relate to what was going on. In section 7, and I know we've talked about this before, additional comments provided on question 7. And it was, the route for the Santa Claus parade should not be altered. So, and I know that discussion's come up before, and I think there was going to be maybe something come back this summer for discussion with council. I just wanted to see if that was part of this or whether that's going to be a separate thing on, we've got to decide, okay, this is going to be the route. We don't want to say the committee say one thing and then change it and then change it back. And then we can be prepared for road closures and everything else. So is that tonight or is that in a future meeting?
Through you, Madam Mayor. My understanding is that's not something we're going to be discussing tonight. That's something we'll bring up going forward. It also was not something that was directly addressed within the survey, so it's not necessarily super relevant, but I do think it's important to bring up going forward.
Councillor Landsman?
Did we not discuss, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, did we not discuss that in some point in June, there would be a discussion about this? I realize it's not going to be this evening, but I do believe we did talk about talking more about the route of the parade in June.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the committee was supposed to, or will be, because it's only the start of the month, it's only the 2nd, get together to start pre-planning the Santa Claus parade before election season really kicks off after nomination day, and then bring forward their recommended route to council at the August meeting so that everything's in place after the election really kicks off.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thanks for getting that clarification, Councillor Landsman. Councillor Johnston?
Yeah, number one, thanks for the report. It's interesting to know how the public sees what we're doing. And I think the biggest thing out of the whole thing is that more advertisement and let the people know different items, like for instance, when we have the Santa Claus parade and that there's food available and stuff like that. So that let people know a little bit more. The other thing is I just want to make a comment, nothing to do with the report, but our committee, that is, I presume I'm still on the committee because it's June and I got to see about the ice cream because I want to have that. It was a big hit last year. And I really want to get going on that because I got ordered ahead of time and the cake and that. So I guess what I'm asking is that we should have a meeting soon and to see how much money we've got to buy some of these items for the parade. And then we can start advertising the parade. Just a comment. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Johnston. And you're referring to obviously the Canada Day parade. You and I are co-chairs on that now, so we can coordinate, I'm sure, offline a meeting to pull together and chat with staff about what we need to do in very short order, so that we can move that forward. Any other questions or comments from council on the report that's before you? Seeing nothing further, what would you like to do with this? We've got a recommendation in the report. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make a motion to receive the report with thanks and look forward to the next one when the next survey goes out. Much appreciated.
There's some specific wording in the recommendation. Councillor Watt, are you wanting to move that recommendation or this is a separate motion?
No, not a separate motion. I'm sorry. Yes, take to follow recommendations in there with thanks and just proceed as things have been. And thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Landsman, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That carries. We are now going to move on to item 10.6, follow-up Ombudsman's closed meeting investigation. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So before you, you have my report, Clerk's Office 2026-15. I'll just read the recommendation. I'll provide a few background comments. So the recommendation is that the report dated June 2nd, 2026, containing a follow-up report regarding the Ombudsman's closed meeting investigation, various meetings, Clerk's Office Report 2006-08 be received, and that the following list of actions taken to address the Ombudsman's investigation report dated March 2026 be sent to the Ombudsman's office. Staff procedure documents regarding the creation of agendas were expanded to include specific instructions regarding how closed session items should be listed on the open agenda, along with brief explanations of each item. Templates for the various types of meeting agendas were updated to enhance transparency regarding closed sessions. Templates for open and closed meeting minutes were amended to reflect the changes implemented on meeting agendas. Templates for the meeting notes provided to the meeting chair were amended to include specific instructions and wording to be used when council or a committee considers any matter in closed session, and that the closed session minutes in the closed session minutes, additional description regarding matters discussed are now included, while also adhering to the rules regarding minutes outlined in the Municipal Act as amended. So the report that's before you is before you as, let me just bring up my notes here, I'm sorry. As council had received a report that I'd written on April 7th regarding the Ombudsman's report from March 2026. In that report, the Ombudsman provided some recommendations for council to review or implement. Council passed a resolution accepting the report, posting it on the website, and we sent that off to the Ombudsman's office. They have asked that we provide a more fulsome resolution to them regarding the steps we've taken. As the complaint, so staff learned of the complaint to the Ombudsman's office back in March of 2025. So we had over a year to investigate these issues ourselves and review our practices. And then we also worked with the Ombudsman's office throughout the investigation to provide them documentation and records that they needed. So throughout that process, we were able to review all of our internal processes. And that's why all of these things are already in place and had been in place by the time the Ombudsman's official report actually landed at the council table. So we've just outlined these for council to receive and then send off to the Ombudsman so that we can comply with their additional request.
Thank you for that. Sorry, I was just trying to come off mute there. Any questions from council on the report that's before you today? Seeing nothing, just looking for a motion of some sort. Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll also move the recommendation that I think we've already done it or accomplished it, but anyways, move forward with the clerk's recommendation to move forward and send this to the Ombudsman.
Okay. Does anyone want to second that motion? Councillor Johnston. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. We're now going to move on to item 10.7, possible Halls Glen land option agreement. CAO Davis, over to you, please.
Good evening, through the mayor. Good evening, members of council and staff. Just want to bring forward report 2616. If you recall, in November of this past year, I came forward to council and identified an opportunity, a potential opportunity for revenue generation related to some brownfield lands that the municipality held in and around Halls Glen land transfer station and the old municipal waste site. We had that meeting that was a public meeting, and subsequent to that, we have been approached by Frolics Beach Renewables Limited They reviewed that site in my report and presentation. Took a look at the lands, the potential for existing feeder connection and/or transmission stations that might have capacity, and they have determined that there may be a potential for a project in the range of 15 to 20 megawatts. This is the first step of that sort of work in order to support the potential for that project and an application to the IESO in the next stage of procurement. They need to do a bunch of analysis on that site to determine feasibility related to, and they'll be looking at everything related to wetlands, conservation, zoning, topography, species at risk, engineering, access to transmission lines, etc. FBR is a renewable energy investor and developer in Ontario. It includes the former CEO of Hydro One, regulatory consultants, professional engineers, and certified project managers. In front of you today, what I've brought forward is they're in the pre-development stage. They have requested or have approached the township because they feel there's a project and they'd like to do some further research. They're seeking a land lease, which would allow us to maintain access to the property. Nothing would happen on that land while they go through this research phase in terms of from them. And then in reality, if they would like to then come forward, if they feel there's a good project, they'll come back to council. They'll seek a municipal council resolution, and then they would move forward with an application. At that point, if they were successful, we would have a different lease or contemplate a different lease. This is just an initial stage. I laid out a long laundry list of things that have to happen from sort of cradle to grave of a project of this sort of nature. We are at the very early stage, and so that's what I brought forward to council for contemplation today is a land lease related to the research phase of this work. Happy to take any questions you may have or your comments.
Thank you, CAO Davis, for that report. Council, any questions of our CAO on this? Of course, this was something that came to us, I want to say back in, oh goodness, November. And we discussed the viability of taking that brownfield and seeing what we can do to put ourselves out there on the market to say, come bring us some proposals to see if we can generate some revenue. And now we have one before us that, as Todd has said, is in the early stages of the exploration and work and phasing of that. Seeing no questions, just looking for a motion then, please.
I'll make a motion that we follow the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Would anyone like to second that motion? Seeing nods, Deputy Mayor, thank you for seconding that. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. We're now going to move on to item 10.8, the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Update 2026, and that is also CAO Davis's report.
Through the mayor to members of council, you'll recall in early April, it came forward with a report related to the expiry of our current community safety and well-being plan. At that time, council agreed to participate in a county-wide development of that plan. The draft has been developed. It's been presented to county council, and at the request of county council, sent to members of council, to each individual participating township council for review and comment. That is exactly what this is. I've just brought forward this report with the draft community safety and well-being plan. Certainly happy to discuss it if you have any questions, and or we would send your comments back to Peterborough County should you have any. The goal would be that the county will take our commentary, frame out or finalize the draft, go back to council for endorsement, and then move forward from there. So it's pretty straightforward. This is just a sort of completion of the work that started in April. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, CAO Davis. Council, any questions on the report or comments to feedback to the county about the report? Seeing shaking heads, nothing. Deputy Mayor, now everybody's hands are going up. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Landsman, Councillor Johnston, in that order. I'll let you
I
guys,
got no comments on it. I just want to follow the recommendation on it.
okay. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Landsman, were you both ready to make motions too? Is that why your hands were going up? Yep, okay. So would one of you like to second that motion then, please? Deputy, after you, no, after you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Landsman. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion may not carry if our councillors don't put their hands up. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to item 11, committee minutes and other reports. We just have one set of minutes in front of us, and that is the Peterborough County OPP Detachment Board meeting minutes from our January meeting. I will just say that the timing of these agendas minutes rather, come to our council a little later because we only meet quarterly. So this was from our January meeting, and then that January meeting minutes weren't approved until our following meeting, or premier February meeting. I'm very sorry. The meeting was in February. It was originally in January. They had to reschedule. The meeting was in February, and then it was approved. The minutes were approved subsequently at our April meeting, which is why they're coming to us now in June. Just looking for a motion to receive those minutes. And Councillor Watt, looks like Councillor Johnston's hands up. Oh, no, it is now. I actually thought it was cut off the screen. All in favor? And that motion carries. Okay, we have a number of items on correspondence. And some of these the clerk's office have grouped together. I think assuming you have read them, if we look at item 12.1, there's 4 very similar motions from 4 different municipalities on that correspondence theme, we'll call it. I think council, if you're interested, probably one motion to do either receive and support, or not receive, would probably address all 4 of those at the same time, but I'll leave it to you to tell me how you want to proceed with them. Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just while council contemplates those items, I just wanted to let council know I will be bringing a report in August regarding changes to MFIPA and FIPA legislation. We're just waiting on additional documentation and some legal information before we can bring that report forward. So I hope to have that in August.
Thank you. I appreciate that context. Council, what would you like to do? Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just a question. So is this kind of premature from the clerk? Would that be premature, or you're probably going to bring a report along the same lines maybe as some of these, Martina?
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor. My report will outline the actual procedural changes and workflow changes that will have to take place in the department. Should this legislation come to pass, it is coming to pass. They already have dates when we have to be compliant by. The legislature has risen for the summer period. I don't think they're going back till after the municipal election at least. So these changes are basically as you see them today. They will have implications for those asking for information requests and other types of documents through the municipality and especially through the province. So.
Thanks for that, Martina. Well, with that, I would like to make a motion to receive and support basically all 3 of them letters.
4?
4, sorry.
Yep. Okay, so we have a motion to receive and support that's on the floor. Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second it, but I'm going to say that I'd like to receive them, but I really don't know I want to support them until we find out exactly what changes are going to be.
Okay, well, the motion that's been made is to receive and support, Councillor. So I don't know if you want to second that or not.
I second it, But
Oh, you did
again,
second
I'm
it.
stating that I would like to not support. I want to receive them, but not support them till I know what changes are going to be made.
Okay, I apologize for being confused here. Deputy Mayor has made a motion to receive and support. And you don't want to support. So
No.
are you seconding
I
Deputy
second it
Mayor's?
to where we
Okay,
can vote on it. But I'm just saying on the request that Deputy Mayor made, I'm saying I'd like to see that we support it, that we just receive them.
okay. Is there any discussion on the motion that Deputy Mayor has made? All in favor? So that motion fails.
I'm confused now, Madam Mayor.
Okay, please go ahead.
My motion was to receive and support. If the seconder would like to receive and support, then the motion we could ask for a vote. But if he doesn't support it, how can we vote on that?
Well, Deputy Mayor,
I don't
just
understand.
procedurally, procedurally, somebody can second a motion and then choose not to vote in support of the motion.
Okay.
Right? They can choose to change their mind after they second that motion. So the motion that has been made by you is to receive and support, and it has been seconded regardless of who has made, who has seconded that. So we can call for the vote and see if members of council will support your motion to receive and support. Okay. So once again, I will call for the vote. So that motion fails.
So
Now, does somebody want to make a different motion about?
Chair, I'm going to make a motion that we receive these 4 items.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive the items now that's on the floor. Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt? And are you turning on your mic because you want to speak to it, or did I see you? I'm not, it looked like you were pushing your button. I don't want to put words in your mouth either. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Okay, we are going to move on to item 12.2. And again, similarly, there are, Councillor Landsman.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Everybody's confused, I think. Councillor Johnson did say to receive the items 12.1.1, 0.1.2, 0.1.3, 0.1.4. And that was in your motion. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to item 12.2. And again, similarly, there are 3 common themed resolutions that are speaking about the requests for review of provincial municipal framework. Council, we could treat them all as one group, or we can do them separately. What would you like to do with this? Councillor Landsman.
I'd like to receive and support those 3 items, 12.1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Does anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Any discussion on the motion that's before us? Seeing nothing, all in favor? And that carries. Okay, we have correspondence from the City of Richmond Hill regarding integrated living and participation model for adults with developmental disabilities. Council, what would you like to do with this one?
I'll make a motion to receive it.
A motion to receive? Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Watt? Any discussion on the motion? Also, I'm going to speak to this one. What'll happen happens, but it's not something that I support. The motion, I should say, I don't support the motion. I think that there are some challenges in the funding model that supports adults with developmental disabilities that makes it difficult for people to cohabitate and pool resources for development service workers and other healthcare professionals to come in and support them. And I think that this is a good move to change, to work to change legislation so that that people with adults with developmental disabilities can live independently and with the proper support that they need and absolutely deserve, and to be able to do that with groups in a cooperative manner. So I won't be supporting the motion just to receive. Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that motion carries. On to item 12.4, Prince Edward County resolution regarding the feasibility of vacant commercial storefront tax. Council, what would you like to do with that? Councillor Watt?
Motion received.
Motion received. Does anyone want to second that? Deputy Mayor Nelson? Any discussion? All in favor? That carries. On to 12.5, Peterborough County request for support for funding application to Growing Canada's Community Canopies Initiative. So it's a residential tree giveaway program that the county is applying for funding for, and they're looking for just motions of support from municipalities. Deputy Mayor? Is that a motion to? Sorry, I can't hear you at all. So
Apologize. Sorry about that. Yes, Madam Mayor, to receive and support.
receive and support. Thank you. And I saw Councillor Watt's hand go up on that as well. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion carries. Now we're going to go up to the report or correspondence on 7.3 that Councillor Watt, you asked that we hold to discuss. What would you like to bring forward on that, Councillor?
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. Nothing crazy, whatever, but it's just, it gets real frustrating when the province makes kind of rules, we're going to open this up, we're going to do this, but we're not going to let you do it unless somebody else says yes, kind of like that. It's like, if you're going to make a decision on something, make a decision on it and put it province-wide. It gets so tangled up with, oh, you can do it here, but you can't do it there. Oh, you can do it this, but you can't do it there. It's the same with the ATV law way back. Hey, we're going to open it up for these roads and we're going to do this and that, we're going to do that. But you can deny it if you want to. It just makes it so frustrating for someone coming from one township to another, and they think, okay, I can do this. And then all of a sudden, oh, no, you can't in this township, but I can 20 miles down the road, kind of like that. So I just want to throw out there that the government needs to step up to the plate, either make a decision or don't make a decision.
Okay, thank you for your comments on that. With that, do you want to make a motion to receive that as well?
I will. I'll make a motion to receive it with thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Landsman, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? That carries. Okay, so we're going to move down into bylaws now. If you recall, we already approved bylaw item 13.1. My numbering is off on my agenda on these, sorry. On item 13.1, that's already been approved. So we're going to look at item 13.2, and this was one of the files that we addressed earlier in the meeting. Just looking for a motion on that bylaw to approve the bylaw. Councillor Watt, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? And that carries. And then the third bylaw that we have in front of us is 13.3, bylaw number 2026-25. And Madam Clerk, I'll let you walk us through that one, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the bylaw to approve the land option agreement that was just spoken about for the Halls Glen site. I realized I neglected to actually attach the covering document, which is the motion that says that the mayor and the clerk are allowed to sign this agreement on council's behalf. But the actual agreement itself and the conditions of that agreement, the payment plan, all that was attached to the agenda, which is the real meat and potatoes of this issue.
Okay, thank you. Council, just looking for a motion to execute the bylaw. move forward with the contract? Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councillor Watt. Any discussion? All in favor? And that carries. Okay, we have no reports from previous notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing nothing. Announcements. There is some documentation on the agenda under announcements. CAO Davis, do you want to speak to that briefly?
Through the mayor to members of council and the public, this is just an announcements related to notice of presentation. So I believe I brought forward at the last council meeting an update from the service delivery review and that ongoing project. And I'd stated in the report that there would be a presentation on Tuesday, June 16th, based on the sort of first of all, volume of material that will be at that meeting, and secondarily, because it's a longer presentation, that meeting has, presentation and the draft report will come to the June 17th Committee of the Whole. It will still be available to the public through all the regular channels, as it always is, but just want to make council and the public aware that that meeting will now be on the 17th of June.
Thank you very much. Are there any further announcements in council? I'll just pay note to the time. We may be looking to extend the hour if we don't get through these last couple of items procedurally. Councillor Johnston?
Well, and the only announcement I want to make is that to let the general public know that our Lions is open and barbecuing on Wednesday nights from 5 to 6:30. We'd like the public, where we don't have a restaurant in our food place that people can go get a burger or whatever be and sit around and shoot the fat. I'm just simply saying that we would like more people to participate on our Wednesday night Lions Park barbecue. Again, it starts at 5 o'clock, weather permitting, every Wednesday night.
Okay, thank you for that.
And some people enjoy coming out to get out somewhere that they can go out a burger or something in our township. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements, council? Seeing nothing further, we have no closed session. I'm just looking for a motion on the confirming bylaw, please. Councillor Landsman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson. No, you guys are all pointing at each other. I saw your hand go up, Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And that motion carries. Next meetings, of course, our regular council meeting next is June 16th. And as CAO Davis noted, June 17th is our committee of the whole meeting. And just finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Watt, Councillor Landsman, all in favor? That motion carries at 7:27 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your help and support in working through this meaty agenda with me chairing from Zoom. I appreciate your help.